Thank you for joining another math lesson hosted by Book&Table. I am your math tutor, Maurice Wright, and this video is practice set number 1 to our Exponents chapter. You will complete 25 questions that will give you a chance to practice the product rule, the quotient rule, the power of a product rule, and the power of a quotient rule as well. Should you have any follow-up questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. Or if you'd like to connect with a tutor near you, visit bookandtable.com or download our app on the App Store. Question number 1. Find the product. X to the 8th times x to the 2nd. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1. Multiply the like terms by adding the exponents. So this is the product rule. When you want to multiply two bases that are the same, you can combine them by adding their respective exponents. So we're going to add 8 and 2. That gives us x to a power of 8 plus 2, which equals x to a power of 10. Question number 2. Find the product. X to a power of 3 times x to a power of 4. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1. Multiply the like terms by adding the exponents. Our bases are the same. Since we're multiplying them, we add together the exponents 3 and 4 to give us the final answer of x to the 7th. Question number 3. Find the product of x to the 5th times y squared times x to a power of negative 3. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1. Multiply the x terms by adding the exponents. So we're multiplying these two terms, but you only want to multiply the variables that are the same. So you multiply x to the 5th times x to the negative 3. When you multiply like bases, you add their respective exponents. So 5 plus negative 3 is equal to 5 minus 3, which is equal to 2. Y squared does not have another y to multiply against, so it remains as y squared. So the final answer to question number 3 is x squared times y squared. Question number 4. Find the product. X to the negative 2, y cubed, times x to the 6th, y to the 5th. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1. Multiply the like terms by adding the exponents. So we'll multiply our variable x times x, and then we'll multiply our y's. So we have x to the negative 2 times x to the 6th. When we add their exponents, we get x to the negative 2 plus 6, which equals positive 4. Then for our y, we have y to a power of 3 times y to a power of 5. When we add their exponents, we get y to a power of 3 plus 5, which is 8. So the final answer to question number 4 is x to a power of 4 times y to a power of 8. Question number 5. Find the product. negative 3 times x to the fourth times y to a power of negative 2 times z to a power of 3 times 4x squared y squared z to a power of 4. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1, multiply the coefficients. So you multiply negative 3 times positive 4 to give us negative 12. Step 2, multiply the like terms by adding the exponents. So we'll multiply our x's, we'll then multiply our y's, and then multiply our z's. So x to the fourth times x squared is equal to x to the 4 plus 2, which is x to the 6th. Our y's, we have y to the negative 2 times y to the positive 2, which will give us y to the 0. Anything to a power of 0 is equal to 1. Then lastly, z cubed times z to the fourth is equal to z to a power of 3 plus 4, which is 7. So we can remove the 1, since anything times 1 is just itself, giving us a final answer of negative 12 x to the 6th z to the 7th for question number 5. Question number 6. Find the quotient x to the 7th divided by x squared. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. So when you multiply like bases, you add the exponents. When you are dividing like bases, you subtract the exponents. So x to the 7th divided by x squared, subtract the 2 from the 7, and you get x to the 7 minus 2, which equals x to the 5th. Question number 7. Find the quotient of x to the 6th, y cubed, z to the 7th, divided by x squared, y, z to the negative 3. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1, divide the like terms by subtracting the exponents. So you only divide the x by an x, the y by the y, or a z by a z. Those are like terms, the same variable. So we start with our x's. We have x to the 6th divided by x squared. Subtract the exponent in the denominator from the exponent in the numerator, and that will give you x to the 6th minus 2, which is x to the 4th. And then we move on to our y variable. Y to a power of 3 divided by y. When the exponent is not shown, it means that it's positive 1. So 3 minus 1 would give us y squared. And then our last variable z to a power of 7 divided by z to a power of negative 3. When we subtract negative 3 from 7, we get 7 minus negative 3, which is equivalent to 7 plus 3, which makes z to a power of 10. So the final answer to question number 7 is x to a power of 4, y to a power of 2, times z to a power of 10. Question number 8. Find the quotient. 16 x to the 4th y squared divided by 8 x to the 5th y to the 3rd. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1, divide the coefficients. 16 divided by 8 gives us positive 2. Step 2, divide the like terms by subtracting the exponents. So we divide our x term in the numerator by our x term in the denominator, giving us x to the 4th divided by x to the 5th, which is equal to x to the 4 minus 5, which is negative 1. Our y variable, we have y squared divided by y cubed, which is equal to y to a power of 2 minus 3, which is also negative 1. So that leaves us with negative exponents for both our x and y variables. We don't want to have negative exponents, so that leads us to step 3. Move each term with a negative exponent to the opposite side of the fraction line. And step 4, make the exponents positive. So all 3 of these are currently in the numerator. So we want to move the x and the y to the denominator and make the exponents positive. When you have an exponent positive 1, you don't need to write it. So the final answer to question number 8 is 2 divided by x times y. Question number 9. Find the quotient of 15 x to the 8th, y to the negative 2, z to the 4th, divided by 3 x cubed, y to the negative 4 times z. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1, divide the coefficients. 15 divided by 3 is equal to 5. Step 2, divide the like terms by subtracting the exponents. We have x to the 8th in the numerator and x cubed in the denominator. So we subtract 3 from 8, giving us x to the 8 minus 3, which is 5. Y to the negative 2 divided by y to the negative 4 is equal to y to the negative 2 minus negative 4. Negative 2 plus 4 is equal to positive 2. And z to the 4th divided by z is equal to z to the 4th minus 1, which is 3. So the final answer to question number 9 is 5x to the 5th y to a power of 2 times z cubed. Question number 10. Find the quotient of 24x to the 5th y cubed z to the negative 4th divided by 6x to the negative 3 y to the 5th times z. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1, divide the coefficients. 24 divided by 6 equals 4. Step 2, divide the like terms by subtracting the exponents. X to the 5th divided by x to the negative 3 is equal to x to the 5th minus negative 3. Minus a negative results in 5 plus 3, which equals 8. We then have y to the 3rd divided by y to the 5th, which gives us y to the 3 minus 5, which is negative 2. Then we have z to the negative 4 divided by z, which is z to the negative 4 minus 1, which is minus 5, or negative 5. So now we have two exponents that are negative. So step 3, move each term with a negative exponent to the opposite side of the fraction line. And step 4, make the exponents positive. So we're going to move y to the negative 2 to the denominator to make it y squared. And z to the negative 5 down to the denominator to make it z to the 5th. Giving us a final answer of 4x to the 8th divided by y squared times z to the 5th. Let's have a look at question number 11. Evaluate x to a power of 3 to a power of 4. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1. Distribute the exponent 4 to the variable by multiplying the exponents. So this is the power of a power rule. So you multiply the exponents. That gives you x to a power of 3 times 4, which gives you a final answer of x to a power of 12. Question number 12. Evaluate 2x to the 5th to a power of 2. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1. Distribute the exponent 2 to the coefficient 2. That gives you 2 squared, which is equal to 4. Step 2. Distribute the exponent 2 to each variable by multiplying the exponents. So we have one variable in this term, x to the 5th. So we multiply 5 times 2, which gives us x to the 10th, giving us a final answer of 4x to the 10th for question number 12. Question number 13. Evaluate -3 x to the 5th, y to the 4th to a power of 3. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1. Distribute the exponent 3 to the coefficient. -3 times -3 times -3, we're going to do it 3 times, will give us -27. Then step 2, distribute the exponent 3 to each variable by multiplying the exponents. So we distribute the 3 to our x by multiplying 6 times 3, giving us x to a power of 18. For our y term, we have an exponent of 4. Multiply that by our exponent 3, and that gives us y to a power of 4 times 3, which is 12. So the final answer to question number 13 is -27, x to the 18th, y to a power of 12. Question number 14. Evaluate -4x to the -2, y to a power of 5 to a power of -3. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1. Distribute the exponent -3 to the coefficient 4. This negative is on the outside. It's not on the inside of the parentheses, so the exponent does not apply to the negative. So we have 4 to a power of -3 here. We'll leave this like that for a second. Step 2, distribute the exponent -3 to each variable by multiplying the exponents. So we distribute the -3 to our x term by multiplying the exponent -2 times -3, giving you x to a power of -2 times -3, which is positive 6. Our y term, we have an exponent of 5. Multiply that by the exponent -3, and you get y to the -15. This -1 times this term will just be negative in front of this. It's not being distributed to the variables individually. So now we can remove our parentheses. And now, step 3, move each term with a negative exponent to the opposite side of the fraction line. In step 4, make the exponents positive. So we want to move our coefficient 4 to negative 3 to the denominator, making it 4 to the power of 3. And we want to move our y term to the denominator. Y to the negative 15 becomes y to the 15 in the denominator. Now we have positive exponents, and we have x to the 6 remaining in our numerator. So now we can move this negative out front. It's the same as keeping it here. And we want to evaluate 4 cubed, which is 64, giving us a final answer of negative x to the 6th divided by 64 y to the 15th for question number 14. Question number 15. Evaluate 5 x to the 4th y squared z to a power of 3. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1. Distribute the exponent 3 to the coefficient 5. 5 to a power of 3 is equal to 125. Step 2. Distribute the exponent 3 to each variable by multiplying the exponents. For our x term, we have x to a power of 4 to a power of 3, giving you x to a power of 4 times 3, which equals positive 12. Our y term, we have y squared to a power of 3, which gives you y to a power of 2 times 3, which is positive 6. And we have z. Since the exponent is not shown, it's 1. So 1 times 3 would give us 3. So the final answer to question number 15 is 125 x to the 12th y to the 6th z cubed. Let's have a look at question number 16. Evaluate x squared y divided by x cubed. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. This question is helping us practice the power of a quotient rule. You can approach it several ways. You can first simplify your x terms. X squared divided by x would give you x. So you'd wind up with xy to a power of 3. That would give you x cubed y cubed. But for this one, I want to walk through distributing the 3 to each term individually before simplifying to show you that you'll still wind up with the answer x cubed y cubed. So step 1, distribute the exponent 3 to each variable by multiplying the exponents. So we distribute it to our first variable in the numerator, x squared. So we multiply the exponents 2 and 3 to give us x to a power of 6 in the numerator. Distribute the 3 to the y term in the numerator. The exponent is 1, so 1 times 3 would give you 3. And the denominator, we have x, so it's a power of 1. 1 times 3 gives us x cubed in the denominator. And now step 2, divide the x terms by subtracting the exponents. X to the 6 divided by x cubed is equal to x to the 6 minus 3, which is x cubed, giving you a final answer of x to a power of 3 times y to a power of 3. So simplifying first and then distributing will leave you with the same answer as distributing and then simplifying. Question number 17. Evaluate x cubed y squared z divided by y cubed z squared raised to a power of 4. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1, distribute the exponent 4 to each variable by multiplying the exponents. So we distribute it to the first variable, x cubed, multiplying the exponents 3 and 4 to give us x to a power of 3 times 4, which is x to the 12th in the numerator. We distribute our 4 to our y variables. In the numerator, we have y squared, so that becomes y to a power of 2 times 4, which gives us y to a power of 8 in the numerator. You distribute the 4 to the 3 in the denominator as well for this y term, giving you y to a power of 3 times 4. So we'll wind up with y to the 8th in the numerator and y to the 12th in the denominator. And then our z terms, in the numerator it has an exponent of 1, so we get z to the 1 times 4. In the denominator we have z to a power of 2 to a power of 4, giving you z to a power of 2 times 4, which is 8. So we'll get z to the 4th in the numerator and z to the 8th in the denominator. So we have x to the 12th, y to the 8th, z to the 4th, divided by y to the 12th, z to the 8th. And now divide the like terms by subtracting the exponents. So we have x to the 12th in the numerator, but no x term in the denominator. So our x to the 12th remains in the numerator. For our y terms, we have y to the 8th divided by y to the 12th. You subtract the exponent in the denominator from the exponent in the numerator, giving you y to the 8 minus 12, which is y to the negative 4. Then lastly, z, we have z to the 4th divided by z to the 8th, which gives you z to the 4th minus 8, which is z to the negative 4. So now we have x to the 12th, y to the negative 4, and z to the negative 4. But you do not want to leave your answer with negative exponents. So step 3, move each term with a negative exponent to the opposite side of the fraction line. And step 4, make the exponents positive. So we're going to move y and z from the numerator to the denominator, giving us a final answer of x to the 12th divided by y to the 4th times z to the 4th. Question number 18. Evaluate 4x to the 5th y squared z divided by 3x cubed y to the 6th z to the 4th to a power of 2. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1, distribute the exponent 2 to the coefficients 4 and 3. That gives you 4 squared in the numerator and 3 squared in the denominator. So we'll get 16 over 9. Step 2, distribute the exponent 2 to each variable by multiplying the exponents. So we'll distribute it to our x terms. In the numerator, it's x to the 5th. So that would be x to a power of 5 times 2, which would give us x to a power of 10 in the numerator. And the denominator, we have x cubed. So 3 times 2 would give us x to the 6 in the denominator. Our y terms, we have y to a power of 2 to a power of 2. That will give you y to a power of 4 in the numerator. And in the denominator, y to the 6 to a power of 2 will give you y to a power of 12 in the denominator. And then our z variable, z has a power of 1 here. So 1 times 2 will give us z squared in the numerator. And in the denominator, we have z to a power of 4 to a power of 2, which gives you z to a power of 8. So now this is what we have. So we want to simplify this further by dividing the like terms. So divide the like terms by subtracting the exponents. 16 over 9 is already simplified, so we leave that as is. move on to our x variable. X to a power of 10 divided by x to a power of 6 is equal to x to a power of 10 minus 6, which is 4. Y, we have y to the 4th divided by y to the 12th, which equals y to the 4 minus 12, which will give us negative 8. And for z, we have z to a power of 2 divided by z to a power of 8, which is equal to z to a power of 2 minus 8, which is negative 6. And now we want to move each term with a negative exponent to the opposite side of the fraction line. So we are going to move y to a negative 8 and z to negative 6 to the denominator, and then make their exponents positive, step 5. So that gives us 16x to the 4th divided by 9, y to the 8th, z to the 6th. Question number 19. Evaluate 5x to the 4th, y to the negative 3, z to a power of 7, divided by 2x to the 6th, y to the negative 5z to a power of negative 2. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1. Distribute the exponent negative 2 to the coefficients 5 and 2. That gives us 5 to the negative 2 over 2 to the negative 2. Step 2. Distribute the exponent negative 2 to each variable by multiplying the exponents. So for our x terms, we have x to the 4th in the numerator. So that becomes x to the 4 times negative 2, which will give us negative 8 in the numerator. And in the denominator, we have x to the 6th. So that becomes x to the 6 times negative 2, which will give us negative 12 in the denominator. For our y terms, we have y to the negative 3 to the negative 2, which becomes y to the negative 3 times negative 2, which is positive 6 in the numerator. And the denominator, y to the negative 5 to the negative 2, becomes y to the negative 5 times negative 2, which is positive 10. And then our z's, we have z to the 7th to the negative 2, which will give us z to the 7 times negative 2, which is negative 14. And in the denominator, z has a power of 1. 1 times negative 2 will give us negative 2 in the denominator. So this is what we're left with. Now, before we deal with our coefficients, let's simplify our variables x, y, and z by dividing the like terms. So x to the negative 8 divided by x to the negative 12 is equal to x to the negative 8 minus negative 12. Negative 8 plus 12 would give you positive 4. Y to the 6 divided by y to the 10th is equal to y to the 6 minus 10, which is negative 4. And then z to the negative 14 divided by z to the negative 2 is equal to z to the negative 14 minus negative 2, which is z to the negative 14 plus 2, which is z to the negative 12. So now we have simplified our x, y, and z's, and we have a few negative exponents. And our coefficients still have negative exponents. So we can now move around the terms with negative exponents. So step 4, move each term with a negative exponent to the opposite side of the fraction line. And step 5, make the exponents positive. So 2 to the negative 2 will become 2 squared in the numerator. 5 to the negative 2 will become 5 squared in the denominator. And we'll move our y and z terms to the denominator as well. So that gives us 2 squared times x to the 4th in the numerator, which would be 4x to the 4th. 5 squared becomes 25, giving us a final answer of 4x to the 4th divided by 25, y to the 4th, z to the 12th. Question number 20. evaluate 2x cubed y to the negative 4 z to the 5th divided by 7x squared y to the 5th z to the 4th to a power of negative 2. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1. Distribute the exponent negative 2 to the coefficients 2 and 7. That gives you 2 to the negative 2 in the numerator and 7 to the negative 2 in the denominator. Step 2. Distribute the exponent negative 2 to each variable by multiplying the exponents. So starting with our x's, we have x to a power of 3 in the numerator. So we multiply this 3 times the negative 2, and that will give us x to the negative 6 in the numerator. In the denominator, we have x squared to a power of negative 2. So that will give you x to a power of negative 4 in the denominator. For our y's, in the numerator, we have negative 4 as our exponent. So we multiply that times negative 2 to give us y to a power of positive 8 in the numerator. And in the denominator, we have y to a power of 5 to a power of negative 2, which will give us y to a power of negative 10 in the denominator, 5 times negative 2. Then lastly, we have z to a power of 5 divided by z to a power of 4. Distribute the negative 2 to the 5, and that gives us z to a power of negative 10 in the numerator. And in the denominator, z to a power of 4 to a power of negative 2 will give us z to a power of negative 8 in the denominator. So now we want to simplify our variables x, y, and z. So divide the like terms by subtracting the exponents. X to the negative 6 divided by x to the negative 4 is equal to x to the negative 6 minus negative 4. Negative 6 plus 4 would give us x to the negative 2. For our y's, we have y to a power of 8 divided by y to the negative 10. 8 minus negative 10 will wind up being 8 plus 10, which is 18. Then z to the negative 10 divided by z to the negative 8 is equal to negative 10 minus negative 8, which is negative 10 plus 8, which is negative 2. So now we've simplified our x, y, and z's, and now we have a few negative exponents remaining. So step 4, move each term with a negative exponent to the opposite side of the fraction line. And step 5, make the exponents positive. So this will move to the numerator, this will move to the denominator, and both x and z with exponents of negative 2 will move to the denominator. X and z now have positive 2's as their exponents. We switched 7 to the negative 2 to the numerator and 2 to the negative 2 to the denominator. So 7 squared gives you 49, y to the 18th in the numerator. And in the denominator, you'll get 4x squared z squared, giving us our final answer, 49 y to the 18th divided by 4x squared z squared. Let's have a look at question number 21. Evaluate x to a power of 3, y to a power of 4, raised to a power of 2, times x, y to the negative 2 to a power of 3. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. So for this question, you must distribute the exponents to their respective terms before multiplying the resulting products. So step 1, distribute the exponent 2 to each variable by multiplying the exponents. So x to a power of 3 to a power of 2 becomes x to a power of 3 times 2, which is positive 6. Y to a power of 4 to a power of 2 becomes y to a power of 4 times 2, which is positive 8. Then step 2, we distribute this exponent, positive 3, to each variable inside these parentheses by multiplying the exponents. For x, the exponent is 1, so 1 times positive 3 will give us 3. For y, we have y to the negative 2 to the power of 3, so that becomes y to a power of negative 6. So now we can multiply these two terms. So we multiply the like terms, our x's and our y's, by adding their respective exponents. X to the 6 times x cubed becomes x to the 6 plus 3, which is x to the 9th. Y to the 8th times y to the negative 6 becomes y to the 8 minus 6, which is y squared. So the final answer to question number 21 is x to the 9th, y squared. Question number 22, evaluate 2x squared y to the 5th to a power of negative 3 times x cubed y to a power of 4. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1, distribute the exponent negative 3 to the coefficient positive 2. Step 2, distribute the exponent negative 3 to each variable by multiplying the exponents. So x to a power of 2 to a power of negative 3 will become x to a power of 2 times negative 3, which is negative 6. For y, we have y to a power of 5 to a power of negative 3. That becomes y to a power of 5 times negative 3, which is negative 15. And now we move on to our second term, and we distribute this exponent 4 to each variable by multiplying the exponents. So x to the 3rd to a power of 4 becomes x to a power of 12. Y to a power of 1, since it's just y, to a power of 4 becomes y to a power of 1 times 4, which is 4. So now we want to multiply our like terms, x and y. X to the negative 6 times x to the 12th becomes x to the negative 6 plus 12, which is positive 6. Y to the negative 15th times y to the 4th becomes y to the negative 15 plus 4, which is negative 11. So now we've simplified our variables, and we have a negative exponent, and we have a coefficient with the negative exponent. So step 5, move each term with the negative exponent to the opposite side of the fraction line. In step 6, make the exponents positive. So we'll move 2 to the negative 3 to the denominator, and y to the negative 11 to the denominator, giving us x to the 6 divided by 2 cubed y to the 11th. 2 times 2 times 2, 2 cubed, is 8. So the final answer to question number 22 is x to a power of 6 divided by 8 times y to a power of 11. Question number 23, evaluate 3x to the 5th, y squared, z to the negative 4 to a power of 3 times 2x, y to the negative 3, z to a power of 4 to a power of negative 2. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1, distribute the exponent 3 to the coefficient 3. 3 cubed will become 27. Step 2, distribute the exponent 3 to each variable by multiplying the exponents. For x, we have x to a power of 5 to a power of 3, which becomes x to the 5 times 3, which is 15. For y, we have y to a power of 2 to a power of 3. That will become y to a power of 2 times 3, which is y to the 6th. And then we have z to the negative 4 to a power of 3. That gives you z to a power of negative 4 times 3, which is negative 12. And then step 3, distribute the exponent negative 2 to the coefficient 2. That gives you 2 to the negative 2. So we'll leave that for a second. Step 4, distribute the exponent negative 2 to each variable by multiplying the exponents. X has an exponent of 1. 1 times negative 2 will give us negative 2. For y, we have y to a power of negative 3 to a power of negative 2, giving us y to a power of negative 3 times negative 2, which is positive 6. Then z to a power of 4 to a power of negative 2 is equal to z to the negative 8. Now, this is what we're left with. We can simplify our like terms by multiplying them, and then we add their exponents. We'll change this to a positive exponent in a second, but if we multiply our coefficients, we get this. We'll switch this to the denominator in a moment. We then multiply the like terms by adding the exponents. X to a power of 15 times x to the negative 2 is x to the 15 minus 2, which is 13. Y to the 6 times y to the 6th gives us y to the 6 plus 6, which is positive 12. Then we have z to the negative 12 times z to the negative 8, which gives us z to the negative 12 minus 8, which is negative 20. So now that leads us to step 7. We want to move each term with a negative exponent to the opposite side of the fraction line. In step 8, make the exponents positive. So we'll move z down to the denominator and 2 to the denominator. So the negative 2 and the negative 20 become positive. 2 squared is 4. So the final answer to question number 23 is 27 x to the 13th, y to the 12th, divided by 4 z to the 20th. Question number 24. Evaluate 4x squared, y to the negative 3 to a power of negative 2, divided by 2x to the negative 4, y to the 5th to a power of 3. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. So since the numerator and the denominator have different exponents, you want to distribute these exponents first, and then take the resulting fraction and divide the like terms. So step 1, distribute the exponent negative 2 to the coefficient 4. That gives you 4 to the negative 2 in the numerator. Step 2, distribute the exponent negative 2 to each variable by multiplying the exponents. So we distribute the negative 2 to our x to give us x to a power of 2 times negative 2, which gives you x to the negative 4. For y, we have y to the negative 3 to a power of negative 2, which gives you y to positive 6. Negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. Step 3, we're now going to deal with the denominator. Distribute the exponent 3 to the coefficient 2. 2 to a power of 3 will give us 8. Step 4, distribute the exponent 3 to each variable by multiplying the exponents. X to a power of negative 4 to a power of 3 will give you x to a power of negative 4 times 3, which is negative 12. Y, we have y to the 5th to a power of 3, which is y to a power of 5 times 3, which is 15. And now, step 5, divide the like terms by subtracting the exponents. So x to the negative 4 divided by x to the negative 12 is equal to x to the negative 4 minus negative 12, which is the same as negative 4 plus 12, which is positive 8. Y to the 6 divided by y to the 15th is y to the 6 minus 15, which is negative 9. So now that we've simplified our variables, step 6, move each term with a negative exponent to the opposite side of the fraction line. And step 7, make the exponents positive. So let's move this 4 to the denominator and y to the negative 9 to the denominator. 4 squared will give us 16 times 8. Y to the 9th now has a positive exponent, and we're left with x to the 8th in the numerator. So 4 squared becomes 16, and then 16 times 8 will give you 128. So the final answer to question number 24 is x to the 8th divided by 128, y to the 9th. And now let's wrap things up with question number 25. Evaluate negative 2, x to the negative 3, y to a power of 2, z to the negative 4, all to a power of negative 3, divided by 2, x to the 5th, y to the negative 3, z to a power of 6, all to a power of 2. Pause the video, answer this question, and then press play when you are ready to begin. Step 1, distribute the exponent negative 3 to the coefficient in the numerator, negative 2. Since this is a negative exponent, we'll leave that there for a moment. Step 2, distribute the exponent negative 3 to each variable inside of these parentheses right here by multiplying the exponents. So x to a power of negative 3 to a power of negative 3 is equivalent to x to the power of negative 3 times negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. For our y, y to a power of 2 to a power of negative 3 is equal to y to the power of 2 times negative 3. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Our z, we have z to the negative 4 to the negative 3. When we multiply negative 4 times negative 3, we get positive 12. And now our denominator, we want to distribute this 2 to each of our terms in this set of parentheses. So step 3, distribute the exponent 2 to the coefficient 2. 2 squared will give us 4. Step 4, distribute the exponent 2 to each variable by multiplying the exponents. X to a power of 5 to a power of 2 is equal to x to a power of 5 times 2, which is positive 10. We have y to the negative 3 to a power of 2, which is y to a power of negative 3 times 2, which is negative 6. And we have z to a power of 6 to a power of 2, which becomes z to a power of 6 times 2, which is 12. So this is what we wind up with after we distribute our initial exponents. Now we can go ahead and divide our like terms to simplify our x, y, and z. So step 5, divide the like terms by subtracting the exponents. So we'll start with our x. We'll leave this for last, our coefficients. X to the 9th divided by x to the 10th is equal to x to the 9 minus 10, which is negative 1. Y to the negative 6 divided by y to the negative 6 is equal to y to the negative 6 minus negative 6, which is the same as negative 6 plus 6, which is 0. Anything to a 0 power is equivalent to 1. And for z, we have z to the 12th divided by z to the 12th, giving us z to the 12 minus 12, which is also 0. Anything to a 0 power is 1. So our y and z variables are actually no longer a part of our fraction once we simplify them. So we're left with negative 2 to a power of negative 3 times x to the negative 1 over 4. So now step 6, move each term with a negative exponent to the opposite side of the fraction line. And step 7, make the exponents positive. So we want to move this term to the denominator, negative 2 to a power of positive 3 is what it will be. And this will become just x. So we still have our 4. Since we've moved both terms from the numerator, you replace it with 1. When nothing is left, you have 1 in our numerator. So that leaves us with 1 over negative 2 cubed, which is negative 8. Negative 8 times 4 is negative 32. So the final answer to question number 25 is negative 1 over 32x. And that wraps up practice set 1 to our exponents chapter. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to leave them in our comment section. Or if you'd like to connect with a tutor in your neighborhood, visit bookandtable.com or download our app on the App Store. Peace.